Here we are.
Gang's all back together.
Back
CJ,
at it.
Did you have a nice break, CJ? Did you need the reprieve?
I did. I was in Kentucky for a work trip. It was my birthday on Saturday, and I was appointed as a colonel in the state of Kentucky because it was my birthday and I was with the governor. So
wow,
I'm now
CJ.
colonel.
They just give those titles away, apparently.
You used to have to work 20 years to become a colonel.
He was our producer. Now he's the colonel of the Rights To Ricky Sanchez podcast.
That's right. I have the document to prove it. So it was a good busy weekend away.
Happy birthday. How old did we turn?
25.
Wow.
Big one.
Getting up there.
Near death.
Getting up there.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here over the hump.
Yep. You missed it, Mike. The first thing CJ said when we were sitting there waiting for you, he was like, you fucked something up uploading the podcast or whatever. Looks like you didn't do it quite right or whatever he said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I always find it entertaining listening specifically to the intro and outro of the pods when I'm not here, because I know that's when Spike has to do it. And normally he just leaves the filter in, and we'll talk about the fact that I'm not there, so that always gets a kick out of me. But I noticed that he switched it up this time. So
yeah, I forget sometimes that for the first however many months we did video that I was doing it, that I was doing all that. But it was pandemic at that time. It was more free time.
And then my friend texted me like, "Oh, new outro song," and I hadn't listened to it at that point.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, they're changing everything? I'm going
Mike,
one day?
I used the Eliza, you don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you, instead of the Amos and the Chef one. We usually use Amos and the Chef one. But I was going through my computer, and I was like, oh, I forgot we had all these. I cannot find the Dave Hartley one for the life of me. I can't find it. All right, let's go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is proudly presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. And brought to you by Mortgage CS. Become a Mortgage CS Ricky VIP by going to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. StatesideVodka.com. On the show today, the Sixers interview Wildwood's own Frank Vogel, while Sixers fans repeatedly bring up both Jay Wright and Dawn Staley. And we have a surprise new candidate who will be announcing his candidacy during the podcast. All the while, Mike D'Antoni is hiding in a corner at the Sixers facility, just waiting for everyone else to leave. Windy thinks the Harden noise is trying to drive up his price for the Sixers. Nikola Jokic makes the finals, while LeBron hints that he might leave after getting swept. Mike, do you have your fake Tobias trades? I put them in the rundown.
I do.
Yes, Mike has fake Tobias trades, and that's it. Stateside Vodka, Memorial Day weekend, 3-day weekend. You're going to be sitting out back, maybe sitting in the park, maybe taking in a ball game in the sun. What better way to enjoy a Surfside iced tea and vodka from Stateside? Clement from Stateside tells me it is incredibly popular at Citizens Bank Park, the Surfside. There's different flavors. I actually prefer the straight iced tea and vodka, but there's the peach tea and vodka, the iced tea lemonade vodka, the lemonade and vodka. There's also their vodka sodas, which are also wonderful during the summer. The only catch is you have to be 21 to drink it. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with the Colonel of California. That is one Mike Levin.
Oh, I wish. It's a CJ only title, unfortunately.
Yep. So, Mike, the Denver Nuggets swept their way to the finals, led by one Nikola Jokic. And if you don't mind, I'd like to have the floor for about 2 minutes on this.
Go for it.
While it is true that Nikola Jokic does have a better supporting cast than Joel Embiid and intelligently put together to sort of make up for his deficiencies, that is certainly true. And while it's certainly true, I believe, that Joel deserved one of the three MVPs of the last 3 years. So I'm happy that he won the MVP this year. I think it is fair to say, and it does not have to be this way, it didn't have to be this way, but it is fair to say that Nikola Jokic is way better than Joel Embiid. At least right now, at least for the foreseeable future. Like, Joel does not have really one signature playoff performance, while this guy is just fucking obliterating everything that goes in his path. And I did not believe that a team with a center who was not a rim protector could go to the finals and win a championship, but they certainly can. And just going to have to hold the L on this one. We've held a lot of L's over the last couple of weeks. Mad that Joel has put me in this position, but not only is Jokic better than Joel, Jokic is like definitely probably the best player in the NBA right now. And there's nothing we can do about it. And it's a bummer and it sucks. And I wish it wasn't the case. And I still do believe the thing I believe about the altitude in Denver. But I think this is pretty undeniable right now.
No, I mean, he's always been awesome. I always leaned Joel because I thought the gap between Joel and Jokic on defense in Joel's favor was wider than the gap between Joel and Jokic on offense in Jokic's favor. But you just can't argue with the success that Jokic's teams have had in the playoffs and the outright failure over and over again, despite a ton of different players over the years that Joel's played with. Jokic has played with, some role players have changed, but a lot of the core has been very similar in the last 5 years or so. Joel just hasn't been good enough. So if you're looking at like playoff success and who can carry a team more, like there's not a debate.
And yeah, absolutely. Like Jamal Murray just went 50, 40, 90, averaging 30 points for a playoff series. But it is also fair to say that part of the reason why he thrives is because of Jokic.
Yeah.
And it would be totally nice for Embiid to have the same core through a bunch of years, a same coach, all of those things. It's not true. They didn't, but it sucks when we have to point to the reason that Joel is better in these playoff games is like, well, look at the time he's on the floor versus off the floor. And I look at Jokic and it's just like, 38, 16, and 14. It's just like, so, we'll go. I hope somewhere, probably not, but I hope somewhere Embiid's watching this and it's just like, fuck, I can't stand for this. I hope somewhere in his gut. I hope it's somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this discussion a lot, but we have to, I don't know what professional athletes are thinking. I don't know if Joel's walking around in a sort of like frustrated stupor. I don't know if he is having existential crises. I played bad on Monday night in my league game, and the other team didn't show up, so we played each other. It was a 4-on-4, just like fucking forfeit game, and I didn't play well, and I was like pissed for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I feel that, you got to imagine that Joel feels that, and seeing all the shit people are talking about him, all the stuff that is very rightfully earned over this playoff race and now his, several postseasons in totality. He wasn't bad in many of those postseasons, and in a few he was carrying a team that didn't deserve to be there, or other people weren't showing up or whatever. But it's been enough evidence to where it's like, buddy, you're the consistent thing here, and they haven't broken through, so eventually it's going to be on you. And he did play horrendous basketball in games 4, 6, and 7. And so you just hope that he is holding this L. He is getting frustrated watching all this stuff. He is going into the offseason with a renewed sense of what he needs to get better at, how much faster he needs to process the game, how much more willing he is to, like, I don't know, fucking dig deep and just carry a team because he's the best player on the court. Like, he just hasn't done that enough. And not only Jokic, but several players this postseason have done that. And Embiid hasn't proven himself capable of doing it yet. And some of those things are weird. Some of those things are, the confetti shot being a couple toes behind the line, and a couple things here and there would have made the difference. Like, it's a game of inches. But when you start looking at a bigger sample size, when you start looking at a full career, and you go like, hey man, you're going to be 30 and you haven't gotten past the second round. Like, at a certain point, you got to stop blaming people and got to stop blaming luck. Like, you make your own luck, go advance, go get to the conference finals. And right now he's not, so he hasn't earned any benefit of the doubt going forward based on how other guys have performed and how he hasn't.
Last thing on this, because I was thinking about it earlier today, maybe yesterday. I do think so many players would be better if they weren't online so much. I can't imagine Jokic is sitting there just like scrolling through tweets or whatever. Maybe he is, but I think he probably isn't. It has to be so much harder to, like, I think there's a part of these big moments where it's less about being afraid of what happens if you fail and more about the task at hand. And when you're just fucking obliterated nationally and you pick up your phone and you look at so many of these guys like online constantly. And I wonder if you took that away from them for 2 years or 3 years, how it would change certain players in certain instances. Joel being one of them. Like, you can't tell me as Game 7's going on and it's going poorly that he's not thinking about what like online reaction will be to it. They're young people, who spend their time. I'm thinking about it. I'm going to get roasted. I'm not even in the game. I don't know. Maybe Jokic does. I don't get the sense that he does. I don't know if he has Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But
the people around him definitely love saying how little he cares, which I think is a strange thing. I think it's all very odd. I don't think if he lost, people would be like, if only he was online more. And if Embiid won, it's like, it's because of how online he is that he's succeeded in these ways. I think it's, I don't know, kind of immaterial. Everybody's different. But I mean, I would think, this is just speculating and armchair psychology and stuff, but I don't know. If I'm worried about how people are going to see me, I'm going to play my fucking ass off. I'm not going to go out there and go like, let me just ease into 3 rebounds in the first half. Like, that's not how I'm going to play. Yeah. I'm gonna at least, if I can't hit shots, I can't hit Horford, I'm gonna Russell Westbrook my way into like 17 rebounds just to be like, well, I was rebounding the ball, couldn't do anything else.
Maybe the Carmelo Anthony fuck out of here. Yeah. Like 1 or 2 of those.
Any of it will be great.
So we'll talk about the coaching situation. We have another interviewee after we talk about our coaches for mortgage. I don't know. Mortgage CS. Got another text and a video from Alec and Ben. I think the text was from Ben at Mortgage CS with another Ricky couple that were settling on a house. Mike, stunning that they looked really normal and healthy. Like, I imagine maybe they used to listen to the podcast. Maybe it's one of those things. Mortgage CS has helped so many of our listeners get a mortgage. And their job, and the reason that we trust them and the reason you should trust them, is they are independent. Their only customer is you. A lot of mortgage brokers, what a mortgage broker does is the person, the business between you and the bank. So they go and they find the mortgage from you from one of the banks. But a lot of these mortgage brokers have deals with banks. So they have different incentives than you do. But Mortgage CS doesn't have different incentives. They are responsive. They are local. They are always awake. They are ready when you need them. And they are committed to making sure that not only you get the best rate, but when you walk away from this entire process, you know more about what's happening. You know more about the mortgage. You know what rate you're getting and why. And like I said, so many listeners have said the same thing. They were all so happy with Mortgage CS. So 2 ways you can get in touch with them. First, I'm going to give you the CEO Ben's cell phone number. You can call or text him. If you're listening right now, if you're live on YouTube, text Ben. Ask him something that you would ask ChatGPT or something. 267-391-7425. 267-391-7425. Text Ben, ask him if being roasted online would make him try harder. Look, if you're going to buy a home, you may need a pre-qualification letter at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. They're going to be there for you. Or you can go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. That is mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Worth visiting just to see the amazing little microsite they put together. But just, I promise you this, you're going to feel good about going to them. So now you got somebody for a mortgage. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. This from Keith Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Oh, you know what I know what sound effect I'm going to set up for Keith for next time. Oh, there's
a lot of dark bitches that are not acceptable.
No. I have one that I think
9/11 based bitches. We don't need to run through that in my head.
No. I promise it'll be great. This is from Keith Pompey. Could Frank Vogel be in line for a Philadelphia area homecoming? The Wildwood Crest, New Jersey native interviewed for the 76ers vacant head coaching position on Tuesday, a league source confirmed. NBC Sports Philadelphia first reported that Vogel interviewed for the Sixers job. The former Sixers assistant is among the lead candidates for the job, along with former Raptors head coach Nick Nurse and former Milwaukee Bucks coach Mike Budenholzer, according to a league source. All 3 come with NBA head coaching and championship experience. I agree with MOC when he says, Frank Vogel would be, obviously not a bad coach, but I just wouldn't even think twice about it. I might not even want to mention it again until the season started. I would be so bored by the Frank Vogel hire. At least Mike D'Antoni I could be mad about.
Frank was fine, having followed him pretty closely when he was coaching the Lakers. Seemed to do a pretty good job. His defenses are always very good. His offenses are always pretty, mid to low of the pack. I just can't bring myself to give a fuck about who the coach of this team is. I'm glad that Doc was fired. I think it's time for a new voice. And I'm just like, I'm going to be pissed off no matter who they bring in. There's nobody that I'd be like, yes, hell yeah. I'm not going to celebrate anybody.
Like Nick Nurse. I would kind of like Nick Nurse. And
I hear the Nick Nurse thing. I think that he definitely has a reputation for being creative. It feels a little bit like the coaching equivalent of going and getting Al Horford in the sense that he's a rival. He's sort of flummoxed Embiid. Taking a player from a rival, taking a former integral piece from a rival. But he plays those guys so many minutes. His half-court offenses are always pretty bad. His defenses have gotten worse, despite the fact that he's got a ton of length and switchability, and he tried a ton of chaotic blitzing, frenetic scheme. The Sixers do not have anywhere close to the personnel to try to do that. I'm just imagining George Niang trying to do what OG Anunoby does.
How many times a game would he fall down?
I mean, look, Niang played very good defense in the Celtics series, and he has to be given credit for that. And he hit a decent amount of shots to earn court time. But it's just a weird switch. And I'm not saying like not every coach runs the same system regardless of independent of personnel. So maybe he would be totally different. And I would be interested in seeing a world in which like Nurse gets to coach Embiid and see, hey, here's how I cover you. Like, let's do the opposite of that. I think that's an interesting thought experiment. But there's just pros and cons of everybody. And I'm too mad about everything else to be like rooting for anyone, because I want to reserve the right to dislike anybody. Anybody they hire, I will be forced to dislike them.
Yeah, I'm having trouble getting that interested in the coach hiring process as well. Now, this may change that though, Mike. We received a video of somebody announcing their candidacy for Sixers head coach, CJ.
Hey, here's the deal, right? You just need a coach. Here's what I want. 4 years, $5 million, okay? I can't coach basketball, right? But look, after 1 year, you can blame me. Tell him it's all Tony. Tony's a jerk off. He don't know shit about basketball. Everybody hates me. He's a piece of shit. Then I collect $5 million for 4 years. You bow knee in my ass. I'll be happy as fuck to take the blame. Every game I'll be like, yo, I suck at coaching. Yo, it's all my fault. Yo, I'm a piece of shit. Yo, fuck me in the ass. Yo, punch me in the face. I suck. I fucking want to get my ass kicked by everybody. $4 million, $5 million, 4 years. Give me that money, bro. I'll fucking take the fall. Call me the fall guy, bro. Let's do this. Come on.
Bonilla my ass.
It's the first time I've heard Bonilla as a verb.
Oh yeah,
which is great.
Totally.
Mike, your thoughts on Tony as
I think it's a solid pitch. As good of an excuse as anybody. You want to take the fall, you can Andy Reid himself. I got to be better, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. 4 years, $5 million.
I love that. I mean, compared to how much everybody else is getting paid,
Yep.
maybe save some money on trading away second round picks for nothing and acquire one even.
This came from Matt. Came from an email, Rights To Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. I was actually at the draft at the Barclays Center 10 years ago when the process began. Drafts are a long slog. I was waiting for the moment to cheer only to see the big trade light up Twitter and start the process. Honest truth, I supported it from day one because I was sick of middling in the league. Like most, this year's results nearly broke me. I stopped following anything Sixers related, including your pod, until today. And just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. Mike's rant on second rounds struck a chord, not only because of the catharsis, because it got me thinking. There was once another man who everyone said too often couldn't get out of the second round as well. He was one of the best, but this held back his legacy. And then it happened. And again, I was at the Barclays Center to see it happen. When Villanova advanced to the Sweet 16, crushing Iowa, and their head coach charged into the locker room with a fist pump of relief. That team launched the Jay Wright results era. 2 titles and a Final Four later, in only 5 tournaments, he arrived. The only man who can salvage this team and bring a new culture of winning is Jay Wright. The process is dead. Long live the process. Matt from Maplewood. Spike, if you found a good place to eat around here yet, let me know. Maplewood, not great. 7 Doors Down Ramen? Is that in Maplewood? Maybe. Anyway, I don't want a college coach. I don't want a college coach without any NBA experience. I really don't. I just think the difference between coaching college players, especially the kind of college players that were at Villanova, which were not like, the A1 recruit type players. I don't know. I don't want some college coach. You?
I mean, I know everybody's been saying Jay Wright for 10 years.
Yeah.
When they hired Brett Brown, people were saying Jay Wright. It's been a long time.
Yep.
I will say that it never felt like, it doesn't feel like Jay Wright's coaching career is over. And it felt, because his departure from Nova felt extremely sudden.
Weird.
And
weird.
Strange.
Yep.
And I do think at a certain point in the right situation, he would at least consider going pro. And Philadelphia is obviously a natural fit for him. So I like the idea of of quitting Nova, taking a year off, being in front of camera on the broadcast, and then eventually take another job. It makes sense to me that he would do that, but I don't know. I don't know if he'll be good. He's a good college coach, but those are different things. It's not like he had so many successful big men that you can build around. All of his teams were primarily space and guards. There's Daniel Lechefu is like the best big man that he coached. Omari Spellman, he wasn't even close to the same kind of player. So I don't know. Maybe I don't care. Fuck him.
At DraftKings, the odds now. I don't think
Jay Wright spoke to my high school class, and if he
What'd they
decides
say?
to coach the Sixers, I will hate his handsome ass. I don't care.
He is handsome.
Whoever coaches the Sixers, he dresses well. Him saying "bang" on the Archdiakono to Jenkins game winner against UNC is one of the most iconic sports moments of all time. I loved
incredibly
it.
charming as a person. Very charming guy.
I went to none of the Philadelphia colleges, so I root for all of them, and I know that's a cop-out, but I don't care. I enjoy it. I live far away. I root for all Philadelphia teams. So I have nothing bad to say about Jay Wright, but if he does coach the Sixers, I will be forced to hate him.
You root for all Philadelphia teams except for the Flyers, who lost you when you were 7 years old when they got swept by the Red Wings.
That's trauma.
Right.
That's real trauma.
Now, I can't bet this here, but I think in some states you could bet this at DraftKings Sportsbook. I know you don't care, but they handicap it this way. They have Nick Nurse and Frank Vogel as co-favorites to be the Sixers head coach at plus 350. Sam Cassell at plus 500. Mike D'Antoni at plus 550. Monty Williams also at plus 550. Mike Budenholzer at plus 650. Jay Wright, who we just mentioned, at plus 1,500. And Stan Van Gundy at plus 7,500, along with Jeff Van Gundy. Maybe they'll both come back. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official presenting sponsor of the Ricky, also an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Right now, with NBA, new customers make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's right. You could bet Thursday's Celtics Heat game. You could bet that. Celtics 7.5 point favorites, I think, in that one. Anyway, new customers make a $5 bet, score $150 in bonus bets instantly by using the promo code RTRS. Also, no sweat, same game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Just opt in, place the same game parlay bet. If your bet loses, they'll give you a bonus bet back in the amount of your initial bet, up to $10. Download the app now and sign up with code RTRS. New customers can make a $5 NBA bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code RTRS. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. See show notes for details. Okay.
I did. So DraftKings Sportsbook, not yet up and running in California.
No.
So when I was in Memphis shooting Young Rock, I made a bunch of bets on DraftKings.
There you go.
And one of those bets was the Miami Heat to win the championship at 45-1.
Oh, really?
I did get it there. So
wow.
I also bet the Pelicans. That didn't pan out. But yeah, so I will be making a Nuggets hedge bet any minute, so I can make that count. But plus, I guess I am rooting for the Miami Heat.
You throw $10 on it, or you throw $20 on it, or
Something like that.
Okay. Wow.
Something like that.
Oh boy. Mike's buying dinner. Mike's buying dinner. For the
Something like that.
Wow. All right. I won't push it any further. Tobias Harris trades. So we've been thinking about trading Tobias Harris. No disrespect, for years. Hasn't
Love
been
Tobias.
possible, truly.
Great guy. Learned man.
I suggested a couple of times they'd be better off if they just cut him. I also said at the beginning of the year they should start melting over him. This finally feels like the year, as he is on the last year of his giant contract, 4 years, $150 million, that he could get traded. It was for $150, right? I think
for $10 billion.
For $10 billion.
$10
billion. Wow, that seems like over the max.
Round number. No, they found a way. His agent dad made it happen.
So you said, now, do you have more than one trade? Do you have one particular trade?
I have 5.
Whoa. Okay.
I have 5. These are all in the world where James Harden walks.
Please.
We could talk about Harden, I guess, in a sec.
Yeah.
But let's say these are a world where Harden walks. You can't go into the season, although I guess you could do it at the deadline. But in a season where you're trying to give a fuck, and Joel acts like everybody's trying to give a fuck. I think everyone going like, oh, this is just going to be a step back year. I think you really run the risk of your superstar getting impatient.
You have to at least kind of try, even if you're not going, crazy, putting it all on this year.
Right. And there's precedent for that with even just 2 years ago when Ben Simmons was sitting out the whole year. The Sixers had a reasonably good team that never had a chance in the playoffs, but until they acquired Harden, they were still like performing and doing all right and doing more than just, treading water. But now a couple years after that, Embiid is a couple more years into his career. I think so often you see, I mean, even like with what's happening with like Dallas and Luka, like they tanked the last couple seasons or the last couple games. I don't know how happy Dame is, even though he keeps telling people that he's thrilled to be here. He'll die in Portland. You can rip him out of Portland when he's a fucking bag of bones. Superstars don't like losing and don't like teams that are losing. So I'm not willing to just say, okay, Harden walks, which is a real possibility. And then the team's just going to go like, all right, let's just fuck around and let it expire. But the reason you can't let Tobias expire, you could trade him at the deadline, but then you're having to coalesce things together at the same time. But you can't let him expire because then you just, again, have a tough time replacing all of that money. So it'd make way more sense to at least break his contract up into a couple pieces so that you can work with it, trade it years into the future, match salaries, etc. Okay. There's one that I like the most. There's one that I like a lot. There's a couple I like okay.
Don't tell me which one you like the most. Don't tell me which one.
You want to start with the one I like the most?
No, don't tell me which one. Just so I can say which one I like the most without you saying which one you like the most. Can we do that? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so these are trade machine trades. So there's going to be some where you're going to go like, why would the Sixers do that? There's going to be some where you're going to be like, why would they do that? But everyone's doing their best and trying to find something that makes sense for all pieces. All these teams that I have 5 teams here, all of them are in some stage of transition or needing a change or needing some players coming in and out and stuff. So you're not acquiring, Kevin Durant for Tobias Harris. Let's start with Dallas. I brought Dallas up. It's not a fun one. I brought it up before. Tobias for Tim Hardaway Jr. and Davis Bertans. In this version, you do not you let George Niang go. You slip Davis Bertans right into the George Niang role. Tim Hardaway is a more catch and shoot guy. He's got a little bit of pick and roll stuff. He's got a little bit of you can put him in the corner sometimes. He'll go up quick. He can get to the rim a little bit, around the same age as Tobias. Not a thrilling player by any means. Dallas does it because everybody loves Tobias. Good guy, big body, a little more defensive minded than Hardaway and certainly Bertans. And Hardaway is under contract for 2 more years at about $18 million and then $16 million. And Bertans is $17 million and then a player option that he will probably pick up for $16 million. Not a fun one, but it is one.
Yeah, so I would do it. I don't think Dallas would do it, though. They
get a year earlier, so they would. Hit that big chunk of free agency money comes a year earlier, and they have Reggie Bullock, who does some similar stuff to Tim Hardaway Jr. They have Josh Green, who took a big step forward last year, who does some similar stuff to Tim Hardaway Jr. They have Jaden Hardy, who they want to give some more time to, who played pretty impressively towards the end of last season. It makes sense to me why they would do it, even if you have to do some convincing yourself that Tobias would be a good fit there.
I would say this. Boy, did they fuck up
not
not keeping Jalen Brunson.
Oh, yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which seemed pretty obvious at the time. I didn't think like the Knicks would all of a sudden be good, but you knew that contract was pretty good. And he's just a good player. He's just a good player, Brunson.
All right. Next one.
Let's go to Charlotte. Tobias for Terry Rozier and Cody Martin. Terry is hot and cold.
Would be funny if he was on the Sixers.
Yeah, he does seem to shoot 57% from three against the Sixers.
Yep.
He's signed for 2 years and a team option. And the numbers are 23, 25, 26.6. So more manageable and tradable. Cody Martin is mostly there to make the money work. The Sixers may have to throw in a pick. They just signed Cody Martin to a pretty fair under market value. You're looking what Cody Martin's brother, Caleb Martin, is doing in Miami and succeeding very highly. I don't know that Charlotte would love that, but as far as, hey, we're about to draft probably Scoot Henderson, put him with LaMelo, putting Tobias, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, like having professionals around those two young guys.
Tobias and Gordon Hayward.
It makes some sense. It makes some sense.
Okay. I would love to have Terry. I would love cheering for Terry Rozier. He would shoot 22% from three here. I have no doubt.
Absolutely.
People would hate him. We would hate him. Why do you think it's Terry Rozier time? It's not Terry Rozier time.
Absolutely.
Oh, Jesus.
But he's got pop. He's got some self-creation. He plays hard. Yeah. Cody Martin is another kind of guy that Sixers don't really have very often, which is like 3-and-D types that can do. It's like sort of like a more, I guess, fully formed kind of Jalen McDaniels. Maybe a little less like one-on-one. I might have Jalen McDaniels over Cody Martin, but as far as like filling the role, Cody Martin might be better. I mean, look, most of these trades aren't very fun.
Yeah.
But I thought that'd be interesting. I think Maxey Rozier, I don't know if that's a playoff juggernaut, but it's something. And you move it, and then you have more pieces to move in the future.
We are really in the new era of the pod. We are.
That's right.
Okay, next one.
Next one is Indiana.
Okay.
Indiana has a glut of guard shooty wings, low, like, 2 threes around Halliburton, and have always kind of been missing that like bigger 3-4 type thing that Tobias provides. So the trade would be Tobias for Buddy Hield, Dan Tice, and TJ McConnell.
Well, that would be lovely.
That'd be interesting, obviously. They have Andrew Nesmith, who took a big step forward last year. They have Andrew Nembhard, who was huge as a rookie. They have Ben Mathurin, who was great as a rookie or up and down as a rookie. And so Tobias comes in, gives those other guys a little bit more chance to shine. They get out from under the Dan Tice contract, although he has a team option for next year, so he's just not providing them much. And TJ comes home.
I'm not going to go back and listen to it. And I know he couldn't comment on him. And I know it was several years ago. But when Daryl was on the pod from the bubble, I believe he made a comment that suggested that he doesn't think TJ McConnell is good.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And if somebody can go back and listen to it, but it was 3 years ago, whatever. I would love to have TJ come home. Hield would be the boomer. They would love Hield. They would fucking love that guy. It would be, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Buddy's become a better ball handler and passer in the last few years. Still not a good defender, but yeah, Maxey, Hield, say Jalen McDaniels, if they re-sign him, PJ Tucker, Embiid is interesting. Shooting, he's he's got some size. It's giving you what like Seth Curry gave you with a little bit more ability to hang defensively and a little more size. So he's not so easily pushed around. All
right, number 4.
Number 4 is let's go to Chicago.
Let's go to Chicago.
They have said in some amount of words that they need to shake some things up. DeRozan is expiring.
Uh-huh.
Lonzo is probably out for next season,
Uh-huh.
but has an additional year on him. And I think I love when Lonzo was getting drafted number 2. I was like, this is crazy. He's not a number 2 overall pick. He's never going to be this kind of self-creation type of player.
Mm-hmm.
But as a like connector that he settled into this part of his career, he's awesome. Obviously, he's struggled with injuries over the last 2 years. So this is why the deal would potentially be getting made. I would say Tobias, Korkmaz, and a pick for DeRozan and Lonzo. DeRozan gives you a lot of, the sort of like kind of Jimmy Butler level stuff. Obviously, he's not as good. But Maxey, DeRozan, and Embiid like makes sense from just like a what is everybody's role situation. The Bulls get a pick and they get to reorient their offense primarily around Zach LaVine, and a little bit more. Tobias is probably a better defender than DeRozan is, and I think you get to take all right. We have Lonzo in our system. The Bulls are notoriously cheap. Let's figure out a way to get him healthy next year, and have him come back as like a huge type of player. Then I would love that just from a basketball standpoint, because I think Lonzo's awesome. And I think obviously DeRozan would be a better fit for a non-Harden Sixers team than Tobias is.
Now, what people are going to say is Lonzo's hurt. He's not going to play anymore, blah, 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 but, which may be true, which is why you're getting him for Tobias Harris.
Right. That's
yeah.
You have to put some risk into the deal. You're just not going to get a great deal out of an expiring Tobias Harris.
So I have settled in. DeMar DeRozan in some ways has like improved in ways as he's gotten older, and that his game, I don't know if people remember, he was a fucking sick dunker early in his career. He was in the dunk contest. He was great, but he's really become sort of crafty dribbler, mid-range, sort of Jimmy-ish guy, at least offensively.
And the kind of thing that like,
but
it just would be nice to have.
He won't shoot threes.
Right. That the problem is he's not shooting threes off the catch, which would be tough playing alongside Maxey or Embiid. But you just throw him in there as like, hey, it's DeRozan time, and let him do his thing in there for some times. It's certainly mixed, but there's something really nice. You watch these playoffs. There's something really nice about just giving the ball to a guy who's like between 6'5" and 6'9", and going like, okay, you're running pick and roll, and dissecting the court, and the ball's in your hands, and they can't like you're too big to get pushed around, but you're not so big that you're like how Embiid started struggling with doubles in the Boston series. It's just nice to have a big wing operating things the way that Jimmy did in the playoffs when Ben just went to the dunker spot and sat there.
Okay, before we have the 5th Tobias Harris trade coming.
Yeah.
Before we do, a guy we would never. What's that?
I think you're going to hate the 5th one.
Oh, I'm excited for it now.
Yeah.
A guy we would never trade is LL Pavorsky. Unless, of course, the player was really good, in which case we would trade LL in 1 second. But most players we would not trade LL for. The first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast and the seller of 327 engagement rings to Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners. The reason that Ricky listeners are always so thrilled with LL is how he treats them. That's it. You're going to go spend a bunch of money on an engagement ring. You want to be treated really well. You don't want to be pressured. You want time. You want to be able to ask questions. You want to know you're getting the right deal. He treats everybody amazing. This is how important it is that he spend time with you. He doesn't want people just walking in off the street. He wants to set an appointment with you because he wants to make sure he knows everything he needs to know before you come, so you could have everything laid out right there on the beautiful glass cases right there at LL Pavorsky Jewelers. Been there 35 years at 707 Walnut and taking care of so many of our listeners. And the great thing, buy an engagement ring from LL, you don't need another jeweler ever. You need an engagement gift or an anniversary gift, you go to LL. Valentine's Day gift, birthday gift, go to LL. Just not a love you gift, go to LL. The best. Like I said, make an appointment if you want to get an engagement ring from him do that by calling 215-627-2252, emailing Lee at llpavorsky.com, tweeting at him at llpavorsky. By the way, you don't even need to be in Philly. He's sold plenty of engagement rings to our listeners all across the country, all across the world. And he's a generous supporter of our charities, Providence Animal Center and Mama T's Community Fridge, Pavorsky Jewelers.
The reason I take my ring off to play basketball because he scared me by saying you could break your finger in a weird way and they'd have to cut the ring off or amputate your finger.
Yep, it happened to Jimmy Kimmel, I believe.
Whoa!
It is why I wear a black rubber engagement ring instead of mine now. His ring got caught on like a drawer or something and basically like ripped off his hand.
Whew.
And maybe it was Jimmy Fallon. It was one of the Jimmys, and he had to go to the ER and get it reattached. And I've heard that it happens. Yeah.
No,
anyway,
thanks.
yeah. Okay. Your last Tobias Harris trade, and then I will judge the one that I think is the best one from the 5. Okay.
Tobias to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole and Moses Moody. The reasoning on our end is Jordan Poole had a really bad year.
Yep.
And bad compared to his previous couple years than the path he was on. In a world where Harden's not there, that's a lot more self-creation. That's a lot more shooting. That's a lot more. Him and Maxey are a dynamic backcourt that can do a lot, that can switch roles, play on or off ball. The hope is playing alongside Steph has made has helped Poole in some ways and also held him back in some ways. And I would be interested to see with a little bit more freedom in a more regular pick and roll offense what he would look like. And also just being away from Draymond, who punched him in the fucking face.
Yeah.
The value of that contract was seen as an overpay pretty quick. And then because he's getting 28 next year, then 30, then 32, then 34 and a half. But if he was the player that he was, not this past year, but the year before, and on that growth, if you look at the early couple years of Jamal Murray's career, statistically, the numbers are similar. I think Jamal Murray is a better player and will be a better player, but there is the shape of a similar type of player if he grows and matures and stops taking some of his worst shots, although Jamal Murray takes a bunch of bad shots also and is just better at making them generally. I'm intrigued by it. Also, love Moses Moody. Thinks he kicks ass. I think he's the man. He'd be the perfect 3-and-D guy that the Sixers just seem to never have. I would immediately start Moses Moody. In that world, it would be Maxey, Poole, Moody, Tucker, Embiid. I think that would be great. I think that would absolutely kick ass. Why they do it is they want to sign Draymond. They probably want to sign Clay. They can get off from under future money, which is more important to them now, especially in light of the new CBA rules. Tobias, you can fit him into like being a maybe more scaled version of what Otto Porter gave you. I think there's something about what the system, like playing with Steph, playing with the Warriors generally, but obviously Steph specifically, and probably Draymond, that just make you do things faster. And I'd be interested to see if like, can they shave off the slowest parts of Tobias's game and play a little bit, like run through that system a little bit more. I think that'd be nice for him. Yeah.
Look, I think Jordan Poole is pretty good. I 100% think, and I said this from the beginning, that the reason for his worst play is because he got punched and it was all over the internet. And like,
I think that's extremely reasonable to think that it had an effect. You can look at year over year, last year into this year, and it's the difference is strong.
I think what people are missing sometimes is like, well, that happens all the time. Like, first of all, no, it doesn't. But second of all, the fact that it was on the internet.
Yeah, the video.
And everyone saw it.
Yeah.
And the team's reaction was just mad at like leaking the video.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
and also being like, we all wanted to hit him. So
Yeah.
like, obviously he's probably like
annoying
and like has maturity problems, but like he has burst. He has athleticism. He is the same size, not as hefty as Jamal Murray, but like that's what you're gearing him to do. You play Maxey and Poole together, then you stagger their minutes, so one of them's on the court at all times. I think it's an interesting trade, and
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't think the Warriors would do it, but we're not playing that game. We're playing. So
But I think you don't think. Do you think it's in the realm of possibility?
No, I think they would value Poole. But I think they'll be able to get a better deal than Tobias Harris for Jordan Poole. I think somebody would give you something of value, but who knows? I have no idea.
I think in this world they get to acquire Tobias and fill a role that they were kind of missing, and part of that was missing by Wiggins, but part of that is just they never filled like the Otto Porter slot really. And I do think that there's, for a team that was like kind of just a bummer last year, the vibes around the Warriors were pretty horrendous all year because of the Poole Green stuff. Tobias comes in, one of the most universally respected NBA players. Everybody likes him. Nobody has a bad thing to say about Tobias. Of just like a let's get another adult in the room kind of thing. I think he's proven that he is willing to do. He's willing to
not punch anyone.
Willing to not punch anybody. Willing to sacrifice all that stuff. So, and I do think that a lot of teams around the league would look at this Jordan Poole contract and go like, "Fuck that! Like that is dead money." And I think that if he continues to play like he did last year, then that is reasonable. But he, especially in the playoffs, he didn't play well at all. But I think these are the kind of trades where, in the world where Harden walks, the same philosophy that you're saying is like you have to sign Harden because otherwise you get nothing. You have to take a risk on somebody else, just the way you're taking a risk on Harden hanging with being able to like either improve on last postseason or and like play as well as he did in the regular season, which is pretty good. Which one do you like the most?
I would rank them.
So just a reminder, it's the Golden State trade we just talked about. It's Tobias for Buddy, TJ, and Dan Tice. Tobias for Tim Hardaway and Davis Bertans on the Mavs. Tobias and Korkmaz and a first for DeRozan and Lonzo. Tobias for your guy Terry Rozier and Cody Martin to Charlotte.
Number one would be Indiana.
Number one. That's such a TJ. That's such a TJ based reaction.
No, I actually
a little.
It's actually more. I finally agree with everyone who's like Buddy Hield would be good here. Like just having someone just fucking launching away.
Yeah.
And he's a really good 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Like really, really good.
Yeah.
Past that.
And a quick 3-point shooter. The only guy on this team that shot quick and had a little bit of size is Niang.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, everybody else was either pretty small or, thinky.
I think number 2 would be Golden State. I think number 3 would be strictly for comedy, Terry Rozier.
Okay.
Actually, no. I would say 3 would be Hardaway Jr. and Bertans. 4 would be Rozier, and 5 would be Chicago. Sending away a first-round pick and having Lonzo's fucking dead contract sitting on the. I don't. That's like a double risk to me that I don't want to take. That seems like too much risk for me. Especially Lonzo's probably not even going to play this year. So
yeah,
that's
no,
how
I understand. I understand that. Well, I love Lonzo, and it's obviously hard to make any assessments based on not knowing his medical. It seems like the medical is bad and scary, and his knee has no cartilage or something. And it's not like the Sixers medical staff has, aside from really just Joel Embiid, helped anybody's career. I like the Jordan Poole trade a lot. I've been convincing myself of it more and more. I was texting with some of the other Ricky folks about it before I brought it to you on the pod. And MOC is up and down about it. I don't think Sixers Adam liked it very much. I think that it is the kind of trade that we don't make, which is acquiring someone at the nadir of his value.
Yeah. Yep.
And with many years left. And if you bring him in, this is all, again, if Harden walks. If you bring him in if he pops a little bit. He gets to play a little bit more like, he'd be their backup point guard when Maxi's sitting. Putting him with Melton, I think, is a really nice backcourt when Maxi's sitting. I think he's like more athletic and has more burst and speed than he gets credit for. I think he needs to slow down a little bit around the rim, but he has touch, he has English, he has like sauce around the rim. It felt a little bit like this season he was trying to prove something every single time he was out there. And maybe he was trying to prove that he didn't deserve to get punched in the fucking face. Next year, hopefully that wouldn't be a problem. And I really love Moses Moody. So this would require the Warriors wanting to get out from under him, the Warriors wanting Tobias, wanting the fact that Tobias is a big, fat expiring, and also helpful to the team this year. And going like, well, we don't necessarily love Moses Moody and we're fine to do it. That's probably my favorite, but I would say my second favorite would be the Chicago trade. I think DeRozan's really good. And the kind of exactly, Jimmy Butler's not coming back. But DeRozan is sort of the closest other player in the league that gives you what he gives you offensively. And you could turn to him at the ends of games and trust that he will get a decent shot off. And another guy that kind of needs to, he's not as good of a player as Harden is or was. But another guy that has like failed in the playoffs, but never has played with anybody as good as Joel. And Maxey would still get to run the offense. DeRozan can ISO towards the end of the game and run spread pick and roll, and Embiid can do his thing. And we'd be dealing with DeRozan off the catch shit, but that's obviously frustrating. I think your point about having to give up a pick and sit on the Lonzo dead money is a valuable one. But these are,
well, they can't all be in our favor.
Conversations. And I really would absolutely love, especially because Melton is expiring after this year. If you can get him healthy, the following year, having Lonzo be in there would be a really nice step in. I love him, and I think, but yeah, the Rozier thing would be tough. I see the value, but I'm also scared of it. I think Cody Martin's good. Hardaway and Bertans would be fine, although like low ceiling. Same with Buddy Hield, Dan Tyson, TJ. I'm a little bit like, let's try to swing for the fences with DeRozan or Poole. DeRozan, who is good. Poole, who could potentially be very good and is young and is signed to like right now the deal looks scary, but as the cap goes up and everything, it could be friendly-ish going forward.
So as we go into the James Harden conversation, I feel like this is a good intro. We got this voicemail at 833 Lickface, where you can leave us a voicemail. And it's not... Oh, there it is. It is working.
Hi, Mike. My name is Mike. I have a confession. I think they lost because it's my fault. My wife and I have a baby due. It's June 8th, our first child. And ever since we found out last October, the minute we found out, I went and looked at the NBA Finals schedule and saw it was at the same time of the due date, same date. And I've been contemplating ever since how I'm going to watch my child be born and the finals, knowing that this is going to be the year the Sixers make it back then. And the hesitation of thought, I just think this is my punishment that they went through this, and try to confess that. Do you guys think it is my fault? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being narcissistic.
This is the totally wrong voicemail.
Well, I don't think it's his fault.
Yeah,
it can't be my fault and also his fault.
I did name the voicemail James Harden is trying to gaslight us. So I'm sorry. It's not there somewhere. Actually, why don't we do this one? This would make more sense.
Hey guys, it's Zach. Just wanted to leave a quick note. If Morey does go forward with extending or re-signing Harden for 3 or 4 years and a lot of money, it's going to confirm 2 long-held suspicions. The first and not terribly important one is that he's not an elite GM, may not even be like a top half of the league GM. What he's elite at is telling that story about himself, and I think building a lot of friends in the progressive NBA media to help him tell that story. The second and more important thing is that, like, I think this will confirm for me that the pendulum that is analytics in the NBA has probably swung a bit too far. Definitely true that 10 short years ago, front offices were stubbornly not embracing it. But to tie this back to Morey, it's clear to anyone, for all of his love and stuff of Harden, I think him bringing Harden back is supported by analytics. He's like overwhelmingly efficient and productive compared to the market, and there's really no amount of money that would justify him coming back. But a truly good GM would have watched the past 2 postseasons and said, it's exceedingly unlikely these two guys are ever going to be able to beat 4 good teams in 7-game series in the same postseason. And so a truly good GM would have to make a bold, difficult decision to choose a different path to win a title. And that thing the two of them lack, we often call intangibles. It's not intangible. It's very tangible. When Joel and James did in the playoffs, it was extremely tangible. We could see it. We just couldn't quantify it in the spreadsheet. But that doesn't mean it's not like a very valuable item that a GM needs to be considering when they're building a championship team. So I just don't think he's going to have the guts to do it. And I think a better GM would. Right?
It's a good take.
I think that's fair. I think that's super fair. I don't necessarily think like the pendulum has swung too far in the favor of analytics. I think that every front office has their own valuations of these guys and what they look for. I think the fact that Harden has been, especially last year, was very good in the regular season, plays a part of the decision making, and was very good for Joel Embiid. But also the fact that he fucking carried them in 2 postseason playoff games against the Celtics plays a part. And then the fact that he died worse than PJ Tucker's hand in the other games in that series also plays a part. It all has to be factored in. And like the further away we get from like those last couple games, the more you can sort of look at the big picture and go, I don't know. But like it still boils down to, for me, too much loser energy from those guys as a package. And at this point, not that like fucking Jordan Poole is like riddled with winning energy, but I just don't want to look at old ass, slow ass, doesn't move on offense unless he has the ball in his hands. And even when he has the ball in his hands, somebody doesn't move. James Harden playing alongside Joel. I'm tired of the offense looking so slow. I'm tired of the offense looking so like deliberate. And I appreciated his passing because they haven't had many good passers in this team for a long time. Ben, I guess, was okay, but it's not like he was passing guys open so much as the defense was pointlessly helping on his drives and allowing there to be easy passing lanes. But now I want some movement. Like you watch Denver, you watch Miami, you watch Boston. Like there is flow, and
Miami's
part of that
moving every fucking second. By the way,
everything. Somebody's cutting to the elbow. Like this was the first season that like Tobias cuts to the nail when Joel is posting up, and it's like and it's always a little bit late, and it's always a little bit slow, and it's always a little bit desperate. I just need there to be more cutting and movement and flow baked into the offense, and that's not going to happen if Harden's here. It's just not. And Embiid, as we know, like doesn't want guys moving that much either. He wants to be, especially if he's posting up. Maybe if he's facing up at the nail, it's different. But all those years ago, it was like when Ben is catching the ball, there's a lot of cutting and moving and flow. And when Embiid is, it's everyone just standing still, and Embiid gets to read the defense. Whoever leaves their man, he just passes to that person. I would love there to be an offensive-minded coach or assistant or something that can come in there and go like, let's just see if we can catch them mixing up a switch or something. It just everything's so obvious it feels like it's very easy to cover the Sixers because they're just not doing that many things.
So Brian Windhorst said that he believes that the rumors about James Harden, if you listened to the Ricky last week, you would have heard it. The rumors about James Harden getting a max from somewhere is to motivate to get Philly to spend as much as they can.
Yeah.
So we had
which has felt like it's been the case since fucking December.
Time. Yeah. I bounce between. I remember when he was a free agent after last season, and I was like, he's definitely going to give him the fucking max. And he signed the 1+1. And we all did the fucking celebration and yada, yada, yada. And I just wonder if they know right now and knew last year that they're signing him to some big contract.
I don't
And
think so.
what's that?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, you think like a low key handshake agreement? Is that what you're indicating?
Maybe not a handshake agreement, but like, I think he's definitely coming back for a sizable contract.
Whoa, that's different from a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very possible that someone gives him more money and years than the Sixers are willing to offer.
Really?
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of teams that can give him like cap space.
No, I'm pretty much thinking of the one team.
Just Houston.
Because the Houston thing is that they do not, it's weird. Ime Udoka went out there, and it's weird that he's their coach, went out there and was like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We want guys, like he gave like an odd quote that was indicating no Harden. And then Jalen Green was on Paul George's podcast, and Paul George was like, I don't know, might stunt your development. And Jalen Green's like, facts. I was like, okay. It just seems like there's real smoke about it happening from both Houston's camp and from Harden himself and his camp. And I don't know if Udoka wants it to happen. It's a shit show over there, and has been for a while, since Daryl left, really, and maybe before, definitely before. But yeah, I don't think that they are going to. He just looked so slow, so many times this year in these playoffs, to where there is a like that previous voicemail said, like there is a world where his regular season, how good he made Embiid, how he did win them 2 playoff games in the Celtics series, like he has earned some level of, it'd be reasonable to give him that contract. But I think the drawbacks are real. Like you look at him getting older and watching his game develop and how he just cannot beat guys off the dribble with any level of consistency, any regularity. He's once in a while, he beats guys off the dribble, and when he gets to all the way to the rim, they've
caught up to him, by the way.
They've caught up to him. It is a prayer. He is like sort of jabbing the ball at guys' chests as he's going up with it. He doesn't have much touch around the basket. He's begging for calls and stopping, not going back on defense. Like he's just not good enough anymore to make up for the antics and the foul baiting and stuff when it counts. But he's also still good enough to deserve consideration at a high value amount. But 2+1 at like, what did he make this year? What did Harden make this year? He declined his $37 million option.
It's like 32, and then they gave the rest to his friends.
Right. So I don't know what the most they can give him is, but if it's another 1+1 or a 2+1 at like 40 ish, I see that, but I also am kind of just ready for it to be over.
Can't do it.
And I think there's a real chance that he gets a fat 3-year max or something like that from somebody and decides that's where I want to be. I want to go be, add to the, all-time points total.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
This came from Arsenio, Rights To Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. The Sixers not re-signing Harden and taking a step back next regular season isn't really a step back. They can still be good enough to make the second round with Joel. Also, this is the more important thing, I don't want Embiid becoming more skilled with the ball. The better he gets at ball handling, the more he wants to dribble and shit. Threes, yes. Rebounding, yes. Handling doubles, yes. I hope he becomes a slightly worse ball handler.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. But if he's actually good, then he would succeed at those things.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't love the idea of him in his current form just like trying it more often, because it just doesn't work that much. He dribbles the ball, he gets it stripped. He's slow on recognizing double teams. It was really, really, that's the most frustrating part is Embiid did take a big, in a career where he's taken so many steps forward and he already played at an MVP level for several years. He really did take another step forward this regular season in so many ways, even as his defense maybe took a half step back because he was expending so much energy on the offensive end. But to see that all evaporate in the playoffs, not being a willing passer, his assist to turnover ratio in the playoffs, especially the Celtics series, was awful. And you're just like, this wasn't the guy that he was in the regular season. And so I want to write some of that off as the knee thing. I want to write some of it off as if the Sixers had just hit more threes off his passes, then he would have been more willing to keep doing that. And then he started getting in his head, and I don't know. It's just that's why this loss. And I'm getting better at I'm getting less depressed about it.
Oh, good.
I think that's evident in how I'm appearing on the podcast over the past couple weeks. It's weird that it's only been a week and a half when it's felt like 6 months of reacting to the Sixers loss on Mother's Day. But it is still hard to get over the fact that like there weren't like so many there was a handful of playoff moments where you could go, man, Embiid failed them here in the past. And it felt like
we have him now.
But we have him now. And that's why it hurts. We have, and everybody has made so many excuses for Joel and for him in the past, and for him to just really, really come up looking so flat and so unmotivated and confused and easily spooked. Like was really tough to stomach in these playoffs. But I'm also not willing to write him off forever because he has had.
He's our guy.
He's our guy, and he has done well. And I really hope that this is the like, we've thought so many times like this is bottom. We have found bottom, and here we go bouncing up from it, and then only to find that there's more bottom to discover. But I really, really hope that losing to the Celtics after being up 3-2 and Joel playing real atrocious basketball in home game 6, and then game 7 not showing up. I hope that that's bottom, and I really do. And so
they did start like 1-30 one year or something.
0-26, right?
Yeah. 0-26. Yeah. Then they'd be the Lakers, right? Wasn't it the Lakers? Yeah. It was funny.
A more fun time.
I agree. I was reading MOC. I think our writers at Rights Ricky Sanchez, we have the best writing crew about the Sixers anywhere. In terms of team, incredible. They've all been on their game for months now. I think MOC has been specifically crushing it. But I was reading MOC, and then I read AU's last one. I was like, man, these guys are fucking great. And then I was like, oh, this is when we're the best. I don't know if we would do good all that well. We do this one great. So
it's either this or it's retweet Armageddon.
Yeah. I want to leave on this voicemail, which I thought was appropriate. 833 Lickface.
Hey guys, this is Jared from Philly. I wanted to ask, I was wondering if any of you believe in fate and the fact that everything happens for a reason, if you believe that or not. So have you ever seen the movie Bullet Train with Brad Pitt, where he like fights everybody? And they talk about ladybugs and how ladybugs, the spots on their back represent like the 7 sorrows of the world. And the idea is that ladybugs soak up all the bad luck in the world so that other people can live at peace and they don't have to go through that bad luck. And I wanted your opinion. I feel like the Sixers are ladybugs. I think there's been so much that has went wrong and so much weird shit that's happened during the process era that it can't just be coincidental at this point. Whether it's like drafting what everyone unanimously believes is like the best player, and then like somehow they just all suck and forget how to shoot, or drafting a guy that ends up getting a peanut allergy and like almost dies and loses 50 pounds and can't play ever again. And I don't even know like where he is anymore, or drafting somebody who they're trading for the wrong guy, whatever. All the shit that's happened, I feel like is supposed to happen to us. Like I never really thought I believed in fate, but like, are the Sixers ladybugs? Like, are we the only team that can handle all of this? And are the Sixers walking so other teams can run? Because if that's the case, then I'm willing to accept that. And I want to hear specifically from CJ. I want to see what he has to say about it. Thank you, guys.
This is the most main character syndrome voicemail we've ever received. CJ?
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe in any of that.
Really?
Come on. No, not at all. Bullet Train was good, though. If you haven't watched it.
I haven't seen it. Val,
yeah, I watched it on a plane.
Was it any good?
It was a good plane movie, sure.
Yeah. Val's always like, we could watch Bullet Train, and I'm always like, there's got to be something better than Bullet Train. So
yeah, it's not an unenjoyable watch.
Yeah.
It's not pulling teeth. I guess it's tough to say to like, sneer at the idea of everything happens for a reason when I am blaming myself for the Sixers' misfortunes and whether any other level of superstition. I think it's all in the same lines. I think of it more as, if I close my eyes and I watch and I try to like envision the future Sixers documentary, process documentary, Last Dance-esque thing. And I think about it like, how will it end? And I think about every step along the way, some of the ridiculous things that have happened, Bynum into Fultz, into Simmons, into Zaire, into the Burners, into all of it, the Kawhi shot, everything, the Atlanta failure, like, so everything. I think, like, God, narratively, it's got to end in a decent place. There has to be something that gets us to some relief, some exhale, some 2011 Mavs style salvation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if I think about it like fate, we are destined to do this or that, but I do think like the Sixers over the last 10 years have been an incredible, as we talked about with Pablo Torre, incredible and bizarre story. And there should be, as a writer, there should be a good ending to make up for how much crazy shit happened to us while we were wandering in the desert. So that's kind of what I hope for. I don't think we're taking on anybody else's pain but our own. But I do hope that it ends in a place that we can feel like we fucking made it. Otherwise, fuck.
Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. Would be nice. Well, we are going to be off this weekend, though my wife is not around. I was looking. I was like, all these voicemails. I was like, I'm just going to get bored and answer voicemails, aren't I? We are off this weekend for Memorial Day weekend, for our sanity, for our lives, and then we'll be back with you next week.
Do you think that what happens first? Sixers hire a coach, or Sixers make free agency decisions?
Well, the free agency doesn't start till like July 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So, coach.
You think coach first?
Yeah. Oh, you think maybe they wait to see what happens with the players and then get a coach that sort of fits that way?
I mean, you're going to have, assuming we're going to have Joel, which
Yeah.
I think is a highly, highly, highly likely situation.
Yeah.
You're going to have Joel and Maxey,
Mm-hmm.
and then what's in between?
Harden.
It's really just the Harden question.
Yeah.
Everybody else is kind of like role player-ish. I know that some coaches or coaches' agents or whatever want to, Nick Nurse is getting interviews everywhere. I love that Doc is getting an interview in Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Buddy, just take a year off.
Nah.
Why don't you want to chill the fuck out? Sixers Adam hoping he gets a job. He's fine. He's a multi-million-dollar celebrity. He's okay. He gets free shit anyway. And he still wants to keep coaching. He doesn't even seem to like it that much. I hope he doesn't work. I hope the league tells him, like, you have to take a year off. you have to fucking chill and like think about yourself for a little bit and think about things you can get better at and ways to fucking breathe. He's going to have a fucking blood clots or something. Just take a year off. God damn it. But yeah, I think Nick Nurse is seemingly trying to force somebody's hand to give him the biggest contract. But again, I don't really care. I would personally rather they wait until free agency is a little bit more shaken out. And if that means that like they don't get one coach, then like fine. They're all the fucking same. All these coaches they're all lunatics anyway.
On that note, we will talk to you next week. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah. Lick face.